Sorry, beautiful souls. My daughter came out and I kind of don't really want her to hear the story. I know one day eventually she will hear about it, but I didn't want to put that energy on her. So, basically, yeah. So everybody was like, wow, she has such a beautiful voice. Like, and eventually they gave me some medicine that they figured was going to put me to sleep, but it really didn't put me to sleep. I just was like in a trance, like, basically. And next day the doctors came in and they was like, it was one doctor. He was talking to me. He was like, oh, so why do you believe you here? And I started telling him, I was like, yo, I was having this experience. I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I do smoke marijuana, and to cope with, you know what I mean, whatever it is that I'm experiencing, it helps me calm down. And he was like, wow, you seem very aware, very alert. I was like, yeah. He was like, what was your diagnosis? I said, well, the last time I was here, they told me I was diagnosed with depression, bipolar depression or something like that. And he was like, wow. He was like, I believe you was misdiagnosed though. I said, you believe I was misdiagnosed? He was like, yeah, because marijuana can kind of alter your state of reality and make you hallucinate. So I started figuring like, okay, maybe the weed was making me hallucinate, because I never heard this before about weed making you hallucinate, but I did have a childhood experience where it did make me hallucinate. So I figured like, oh wow, I never knew that, which caused me to start learning about marijuana too. But anyway, that's another story for another time. And basically, like, he told me I was misdiagnosed, and you know what I mean? That they still was gonna put me on some medication to help me calm down and things like that. So eventually I got out of the hospital, and when I got home, my neighbor was like, oh yeah, you're gonna be a little bit mad at me, but your friend been knocking on the door for you. He been looking for you. He asked me could he hold his stuff here, but he's been looking for you, and I told him that you was in the hospital. So I know you're gonna be mad, but I ain't know what to say. I just felt like to be honest. And I said, all right, don't worry about it, because I was in the hospital. I'm not gonna sit and pretend like, like I wasn't, and I wasn't going through what I was going through. I was going through that. And basically me and him connected again, and we started kind of dating, I guess. But like I said before, when I first started talking to him, his energy was a bit off, and I couldn't decipher what it was about him, and I told you prior I had those hallucinations about my daughter being in danger and all of that. But I didn't even realize what I was going through, and I didn't realize that it was possibly a warning. And so we dated for a while, and he just had this energy where he was like kind of scary. Like, he raised his voice, but then later on he's back normal again, nice, quiet. And then he started telling me stories about his life and how he was abused as a kid, and by his family member, beat him for no reason. And I told him like, yeah, sometimes, people could get possessed and go through all of these different experiences when they don't, acknowledge what it is that they're going through and stuff. And then there was a big bang in the kitchen, like boom. And we both looked at each other like, okay. And he started basically telling me signs about abuse, and how he learned about abuse and all of these different things. And it was like we was kind of starting to get a connection again, because we was learning from each other and just all of these different things. But eventually I kept having bad dreams and I kept feeling uncomfortable. And when I wake up, he wasn't in the bed. And it made me nervous because it was like we was already talking about abuse and all of this other stuff. So I'll get up and find out what's going on. I'm like, oh, can you not go in her room while she sleep and stuff? Like, telling him that. And it kept happening, like, and I kept waking up feeling uncomfortable, and he started getting frustrated with me feeling uncomfortable about him getting up. Like, you know what I mean? It was like a way of manipulating to make me believe that I was bugging, but really he didn't have good intentions. And the relationship eventually turned abusive, you know what I mean? Not only to me, but to my daughter. And I didn't find out until my neighbor told me that he saw my daughter in the hallway during a late night by herself, and she was scared. And then the guy that stayed there told her to come back in. And he felt like that wasn't normal, like for a little girl to be in the hallway by herself. So when I heard that, it was like I was already trying to figure out my escape plan of how to get out of this relationship. And I basically called my sister. I didn't tell her what was going on. I just was like, yo, I don't trust this guy. It's like he's moving weird and it's making me feel uncomfortable. And she was like, you got to face that. Like, you got to stand your ground. That's your house. And you know what I mean? If he got to go, he got to go. Like, basically. And it was like he just kept getting more scarier and more scary. I don't even know why I was scared of this man, but I was scared of him. I'm not even going to hold you. I was very intimidated by him for some strange reason. And it was like, at first I was expressing myself to him like, yeah, I don't know what's going on with Rhythm. She just seems different. He'll go in there like, what's wrong? Something wrong with you? Like, why are you talking to her like that? That scared me, So it was like I kept being more scared and more scared until eventually the situation just got out of hand and things got worse. And, I end up basically having to get out of that relationship. And I don't really want to go into too much details because I'm trying to move past all of this. But basically, he had issues that he never dealt with, and it made him toxic and poison and just wicked and evil. And that's just what I'm gonna say about him. And the only reason why the only reason why I decided to tell my story is because I've been holding in these emotions for so long, and it's to the point to where I'm torturing myself. And I don't want to live my life like this no more. And I'm starting to come to the understanding of why I had to go through these experiences, because I was so naive and I was just so open to learning and just different things. Like, you know what I mean? That I feel like I had to change about myself. And I had to learn. These was all lessons. Let me first and foremost say it was a lesson. And I will never allow myself to go through something like that again, because I know my purpose in this world. And my purpose is to uplift the planet and do my best and show up as good as possible. And I know you're like, oh, she's smiling. She's still happy. That should have broke her. That should have, No, it didn't break me. It actually made me stronger than ever. And now I feel like I have the ability to help other people who's going through this domestic violence, relationships, abuse, mental, physically, whatever type of abuse, because I have the power to speak my truth. I have the power to stand up for what I believe in. And I have the power to create any life I want. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to change my life. And it's already done. It's already done. I'm already done started the process. I'm already transitioning to the best version of myself I could ever possibly think of. Like, I've never been this fluent with the way I speak. And look at me. I'm so empowered. I'm so strong. I'm so wise. I'm so confident. Like, I learned about numerology, astrology, the planet, the sun, the moon, the stars, like just, oh my God, like I've learned so much and I done changed so much. And I basically just want to say I'm grateful and I'm happy and I'm blessed. And I know I had to go through those experiences to get to the point to where I am today. And I just want to say I forgive y'all and I forgive myself. I forgive myself for allowing those people to hurt me, for allowing myself to go through any of those trials and tribulations. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. I do. I truly, truly, truly forgive myself. And I must say, and I forgive y'all too. I forgive y'all too. So basically, after that, I left that house because he was threatening to kill us. And I knew I couldn't stay there because I wasn't going to allow my daughter to be in danger or feel uncomfortable. And I didn't understand how affected she was during that process. I didn't understand it. So basically, we end up going into a domestic violence shelter. And I was there for a little while, praying, learning, and then something kicked into the earth and people started, getting sick and stuff. And I can't really say the term of what everybody was going through on the planet, but y'all basically know what we just transitioned from. And it was pretty much a hard time for everybody on the planet. Everybody was going through stuff, And eventually I got my place. I moved and I began to, move on with my life. And basically, we up to the last final time of me being in a mental facility. I started experiencing things in my new place. Sorry about that. I wanted to make sure she go on her own. She's a little bit nosy. Has a little bit nosy. I love her though. Oh my God, she's such a blessing. She's such a blessing. She always says such beautiful things to me. Mommy, I love you. Like she just, oh my God, she always has the right words to say. And I know that's nobody but God. I know that's nobody but God Almighty. That's the God of the universe, the divine, oh my God, I'm just so blessed and just, oh my God, I'm so grateful to have her in my life. And I must acknowledge that. So basically, I got to my new place. Everything was okay during the beginning, and then I started going through the experience again, nervousness, fear, just scared of everything. And I just was like having epiphanies about what I was going through. And because I feel like the area I was living in was a bit dense, I started tapping into something again. And not only was my daughter was. So basically, I reached out to my sister and I went up there because it was like my phone broke. I had sat it on top of the refrigerator and it fell and shattered. So it was like I was already going through something and I felt alone here because it was like I didn't have a very good support system. And it just was like God was putting me in a position to see people true colors, basically. And so basically I knew to go to my sister's house because it was scary here. I was in fear. I was worried. I had anxiety. I couldn't focus. My daughter was emotional. Like, I'll be asleep, she'll be up. She always kept calling my sister, saying stuff to her. But it was innocent. It wasn't like I was being abusive or doing something wrong. It was like, hi, auntie, I just wanted to check in on you because I had separated myself from everybody. Like, because I knew that they didn't understand what it was that I was going through. And I knew that God and the universe was putting me through this situation for a reason. And that's just how I felt about it. I just knew that this was meant to be happening to me because I don't believe in coincidences. So basically, I went to her house. Before I went to her house, me and my daughter went to Harlem, and we had a traumatic experience. Like, I don't want to say too much, but basically it was scary. Like, we tried to play some music at my best friend's house, and the music just was like demonic. Like, it was like it wasn't playing proper. It was like and it did something to my daughter to where it shocked her, and she went into this trance where she was like shaking and stuff. Like, so it was like I just wanted to wait for the morning to come so we can go home. And I just laid there with my best friend and her, and she was so scared, and she was shaking and shaking. And basically, yeah, it was very traumatic. So eventually I ended up going home that night. We took a cab home. She gave us money to get in the cab to go home. And well, she gave us money. It wasn't for a cab to go home. She just gave us money. But Rhythm, my daughter didn't want to get on the train. She said she was nervous about the train because our last interactions with the train was pretty intense, because I told you it was a lot going on in the world, and there was a lot of fear and a lot of just things going on in the world, okay? And basically she didn't want to ride the train. So I took her to the park to play for a little while, and we went to this old park in Harlem where we used to go to a lot. And everything was changed. Like, it was very diverse. It wasn't like the same type of community I remember it being when I was living there, you know? And mind you, I told you I stayed away from my family for a while because I was taking care of my child, was living my life just like everybody else was living theirs, you know? So I didn't see the changes and the transitions happening in the world because I was in my own world, basically. So I took her to the park to try to calm her down, and you know what I mean? So I was sitting in the grass while she was playing in the park, and mind you, the park looked different. I'm not racist or anything like that, but it was mostly, I don't know how to describe it, because they human just like us, but white people, okay? And just the park was different, okay? So I allowed her to still play because I didn't think about how people may react to her or us, you know? Because I never really had an experience with racism. I never had an experience with racism. So that was like my first experience with racism. And the little girl was being mean. And when she came out the park, she was like, shit, the little girl was being mean to me, and they said I can't play here and all of this weird stuff. So I said, you don't have to listen to that. They can't tell you what you can't do. And then the man looked at me very scary, like, ugh. I could just remember it. Like, it was like it's happening to me right now. That's why I'm releasing all of this from my mind and my body, because I'm not really a good writer, you know, but I can speak my butt off. And he looked at me with this death stare. And I don't know, like, I don't know what that was about, but eventually I just started going through another experience. And we got in the cab, we ended up going home, and she just started pouring her heart out to me. And I never heard my daughter say these things. She was like, sometimes you just get so upset and you just start screaming and you just start yelling sometimes. And I don't mean to hurt you. I don't mean to do these things. I just try to do my best. And I'm like, I never mean to hurt you. And I never meant to do those things. Like, I never abused her or anything, but it just was like, I had bad behaviors too. I told you prior that, you know what I mean, when I get upset, I yell, or frustrated, I yell, because that's my program and that's my patterns that I had for years. I didn't know that I was doing it until somebody actually expressed it to me, what they was feeling. And she expressed that, honey, and it shook my world. It shook my world. It took me into this trance to where I was like uncomfortable. I was feeling some way about people of other colors, and it was like my heart and my mind was off. And basically, I couldn't no longer stay in this house alone, because it was like it was a lot of spooky stuff going on, and I was being messed with. And basically, okay, yeah, basically we went to my sister house because I was going through something. I needed help. And I remember last time that when I was going through something, to reach out. That's because, like, when you're in the psychiatric ward, you create a safety plan. A safety plan for when you're going through something, things you should do to help yourself not be in your mind so much. Because your mind can be a scary place. Your mind could be a scary place. I'm gonna make this quick because my camera is about to die. It could be a scary place. So basically, I went to my sister's house and I kind of was like trying to be in the room minding my business, and she came knocking on the door, and it was like she kept bothering me, saying stuff, and it was like she was making me feel uncomfortable. So I just stayed in the room and was like, I'm just gonna stay here. So she like, so what's going on? Like real nasty. I'm like, nothing. I was like, me and Rhythm was experiencing something, and I just need somewhere to stay. I need some time to get my mind right. Like, it's been scary. I've been hearing things and going through an experience that I just can't explain. And she was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I'm like, yo, why are you talking to me like that? And I'm like, yo, leave me alone. And I slammed the room door. And then she walked away. And then it was getting later and later. And then eventually she came back. She was banging on the door. And I was like, what? Like, because she wasn't leaving me alone. Like, leave me alone. Like, please. And I yelled at her. And she was like, yo, I was just effing asking you something. Like, you yelling at me. And da 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 da. It's not my fault you going through something. And then my daughter was like, yeah, we both going through something. And then she started expressing what she was going through. And she was like, you trying to be like your mother. You trying to be like your mother. Like, you putting that stuff in her head. You putting that stuff, like, and start saying stuff like that to me. I'm like, I'm not putting nothing in her head. I said, you know what? I'm out of here. I grabbed my stuff and I tried to leave. Like, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. I'm not going to sit here and be harassed and abused and talk too crazy. Like, I'm past all of that. I'm changing my life. I don't got time for that. I know what I'm experiencing. You can't tell me nothing at this point. You know what I mean? This is not your life. This is my life. God put me in this position, not you. Well, I kind of put myself in that position because I feel like that's what I don't know. I just feel like it was meant to happen. That's just how I feel. And so basically I took my daughter and we was leaving. And she was like, you're not going nowhere, Wall. You're not going. It's mad late. You're not leaving. I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police. You got schizophrenia. You acting just like my son. You acting just like, you know what I mean? Whatever. Sorry I said that part. But anyway, so basically, you know, this is something that's been going on in our family for a while. And basically she called the police and she told them I had schizophrenia. So I was trying to get out of there because I don't have no schizophrenia, and you're not about to have me hospitalized and have my daughter with you. Like, no, you bugging out. Like, I don't even trust you, and you got this energy that it's very uncomfortable. And Rhythm was like, please, mommy, let's go, please, please. She was begging me. Of course I'm gonna be like, heck yeah, let's go. You don't feel comfortable here? I'm already trying to make peace with how I messed up. You think you gonna come and make my baby feel more uncomfortable and more scared? No, 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 no. So basically, police came, they caught us going down the block, and they was asking me questions, but it was like weird. The whole energy the whole day was weird. And it was like, look, we understand you say you don't have schizophrenia, but we can't allow you to leave with this baby and your sister saying that you have been diagnosed with schizophrenia. She's sitting there. I knew she was intoxicated. She was drunk. And basically, they saying I had to check myself in the hospital and get evaluated. And they was going to take my daughter. So they took my daughter. I said, they was like, would you want your daughter to go with her, or would you want your daughter to go to the precinct and